Okay, let's get started on Cruel Necessity. Now, you start the game by reading the prologue, which is really a historical summary of the events leading up to the English Civil Wars. I'm not going to do that. I'm also not going to read all the notes on all the cards, I don't believe. I enjoyed doing that with my wife, but I don't want to waste video time on that, although I'm sure anybody watching this is partly watching it for entertainment rather than learning ability. So, the first thing that we have is Scotland is going to be triggered. This is Scots defeat the English army at the Battle of Newburn. We don't have a battle here. This black just says the armies are doing this. So, we push from 5 to 4. That moves the Scottish army. Then we're going to drop the monarchy 1 level. And finally, we get a little +1 modifier on Parliament. I'm only really worrying about this from the game's point of view. And maybe in a sense that's not the right way to do it. To some extent, though, I have some knowledge of the era. It's definitely enjoyable to read the cards and take your time with that. I just feel a little strange doing that within the context of the video. And also it would wear my throat out very quickly to be doing this. I do the videos at a higher pace than the two of us played together. Okay. I have 5 points of zeal, and at this point I have to kind of think of what I want to do. Well, one aspect here is I've got a bonus on this, which sort of drives me to want to take that. The thing I've learned, though, is pushing these above about C doesn't necessarily help you. In fact, to some extent, you kind of want to keep them low until you want to raise them. So what other things can I do with my points? What things am I worried about? I was far more worried about the tracks in the game that my wife and I played than I think I should be. Well, one thing to worry about is the Scottish army here. I can't drive it back too far, but so I'm not going to spend my zeal point on it, but I'm going to spend an activity to attack it. It's got a strength of 3. I need to roll a 4 to drive it back. I do not. I'll do that again because I can't fortify Edinburgh. Well, that's there. And now I succeed. It's pushed back. Do I want to keep hitting it? Not terribly. But I am worried about Edinburgh. I am worried about all of my fortresses. And that's the thing I'm going to kind of worry about here, is I'm going to up my fortresses instead of worrying about these tracks. Now, I obviously have to pay some attention to the tracks, however. All right, we're moving on to the next card. I'm going to take a little breather here because I remember we got something wrong and I wanted to talk to my wife about that. During the cleanup round, I'm going to get 3, 4, 5 more points for next turn. And I draw a quick card. And this is Parliament passes the militia ordinance, allowing them to build county militias without the king's approval. Now, this is going to do a number of things. First, Ireland. Now, I believe this says multiple things. One is Ireland gets a -1 strength marker on it and is weakened. But it also, the Ireland counter is represented there. I don't know how they would do it otherwise. So it's going to take an action and march forward. I probably want to shove it back because it's weak. But then besiege or fortify Dublin. What that's going to do, Dublin is already royalist, so they're going to put a point to fortifying it. If they didn't own it, they could still besiege it even though the army is not there, because that's just this event. And then I gain the London trained bands. So these things, which are fairly strong but not tremendously so, are in my named units. They can help me. I can use them in battle. Basically, I can choose them, and then the other counters will be random. Alright, so then the next thing is the Parliament sends an army of Covenanters. The extirpation of property from Ireland. That's going to hurt my Catholicism rating. I got to be kind of careful, not let those get too low, but there are cards that level them towards the sea level, and unless I have some good reason to raise them. Now, the one I do have good reason to raise is Catholicism. That gives me an extra zeal each turn. Some of these others, reducing the Scotland and Ireland army, might be worthwhile, but for the most part, and once I get towards the bottom of the deck or something, I might be more worried about it, because then there's you count victory points to see how you're doing, and that affects how you will do. And the Queen runs to Holland, and I get a die roll modifier on the monarchy. This I may want to raise. I'm not sure. So, what would I like to do? Well, I'd like to schwack the Irish. So here the strength drops them to a 2, so I need a 3 or higher to hit them, and I spend 1 on this. I've driven them back. I can go further than that. I can disrupt them as well. That buys me another step of the way. The armies are really annoying. While I have such an easy shot on one, I'm going to take it. Huh. I probably shouldn't have been... Well, let's keep going. Once I commit to something. Son of a bitch. I was thinking about sieging Dublin, but now I'm caught up in this battle against this army and burning all my points on that. Okay. Well, I definitely want to spend another point on Edinburgh. I don't know how difficult, how many activities different armies have. But the more I can burn, the better I can do. I'll do another shot on the Irish. I feel kind of like finally spend so much, I got to get something out of it or something like that. Now that little marker is going to go away because we're at the end of the turn cleanup. I still only have 5 of these points coming to me. This goes away. I didn't take advantage of it. For good or ill, I'm not sure. And we'll draw another one. Okay. Parliament signs solemn league and covenant with Scotland. All the armies are in activity here, and this is why I wanted to take some action. So first, the Irish recover. That's their action. The North Army gets 2 moves. Now, if we look through the order of things, this is what, we see, okay, it actually moves and moves. The West Army gets a move, and we're just, getting pushed from all sides. And the Scots go. Parliament establishes a Presbyterian church in England, and Ireland appears to its new ally in Scotland. Puritanism goes down. That's fallen into the F zone. There's kind of some danger in that, so I don't really want to get down here because I definitely pay a penalty if I get down there. And then Parliament raises a Scottish army to combat Royalists and Irish. There's going to be a political reaction. Political reaction, I always have to look this up. This is one of the few things, if it was the only thing that showed this way, there it is. It looks very different in the political and religious reaction, but with all the color in the thing, it doesn't stand out enough to find it, but it is one of the few things that I have any ease of finding. So it's going to be Parliament and monarchy. So basically, if they're below a C, or above a C, they move towards a C. And in this case, it's a D, so it shifts up one. And Parliament is also a D, so it shifts up one. So see, if we had been working to keep those markers up, we'd get shot down at this point. Once I have something as a goal to go for, it might be worth trying to hit things because those goals are kind of neat. But okay, and then we get an extra zeal point for this turn. So our zeal goes up by 1. So far we haven't had a battle yet. Now I wouldn't be allowed to fortify Edinburgh because the army is in good shape, is in that location. Same thing here, I think, with Hull. This is area 3. I am allowed to fortify Bristol, however. I think I'm going to do that. I could do it a couple of times, actually, and that would save me some effort, bottling the West Army up there for a while. That might be worthwhile. But let's look at, do we want to win battles elsewhere? Is there anywhere that we feel we really should? I like the idea of hitting the Scottish Army because it's weaker than the North Army. So I'm going to slam into that. Now, in all of this, I could be using these, but I'm not focusing on any one thing enough. So that was a success. It pushes it back. And now I can fortify Edinburgh. I've got a limit. I can only fortify things twice in a turn, but that ups it to that level. I don't want to hit him again to disrupt him. I just want to get my fortifications in place as much as I can. I think I want to go after this sucker to push him back as well, but am I worried about my Puritanism? Yeah, kind of that too. For now, I'm going to hit the army. That's a success. I got very lucky there, I guess. And I'll crank this up too, and that gives me everything. That uses up all my zeal. All right, this goes up to 5. And yeah, I definitely learned from my mistakes last game. I went for a more balanced approach last time. Nah, do the military first. That's what I'm hoping for. Now, it looks fine right now, although these tracks certainly look a little low. But this is the whole thing. You're constantly going to be pressed and pressed and pressed. And now the question is, how do you, improve your position while you're pressed? So far, a couple of cards have gone by. I've used up all my actions. And in that, the army's pushed one space further along. I have fortified my towns quite a bit, though. That's something I probably won't have to do. I'm putting money in the bank for actions that I have to cope with later. Now, if I could hold all the armies off or keep them off of one of these cities, I wouldn't have to fortify it. That's what I'm kind of doing with London. I'm not fortifying London because I'm hoping to hold the other armies at bay. Most particularly the north and west are the ones that can hit. Okay, let's play another card here. Okay. So this is one of those bonuses I can get. Committee on both kingdoms. If my monarchy is B or higher, if I own Edinburgh, and if Scotland's C or higher. And this is weird. It says Parliament equals B. Now, this is actually noted in the rules. It strikes me as kind of weird because most of them are greater than or equal to, but in the example in the rules, I think they actually show this one as an example. Here, this something very similar with a Parliament equal B. And they talk about Parliament and Puritanism up to their respective B or higher rows, making it sound like this should be greater than or equal to. I don't know. This is pretty clearly an equal sign. If it's meant to be a greater than or equal to, it's a typo and that's it. And I'm perfectly willing to say you got to kind of negotiate to get that, directly at B, which isn't terribly hard if you stay lower. So that's going to be available to me. Let's take a look at how close we are to that. Monarchy, we have to get up a couple of steps. Edinburgh, we're fine. Scotland. Scotland, we got to get up a step. Parliament, a couple more steps. So it would take like 5 actions to get this into place. And then I'd have to pay 4 zeal for it. Now what I get if I do this is I get 2 free attacks on the Scotland army. Well, that sure the hell isn't worth it, but I also get 3 victory points. Some cards have other cards as prerequisites as well, which can cause you real trouble if you don't know the deck. Well, let's keep drawing what I got. Alright, here's my event. And we're going to see seize English land, King Charles signs treaty. Scots seize English land. Okay, so we're going to see a little +1 marker on the Scots. And now they move twice in a row. Wow. Boink. Their second move is going to be a siege of me. Now they get two attacks on the city when they do a siege. The first one succeeds. Let's check. The second one is also going to succeed. So they drop me twice. That's the army action, but now they get another free siege of Edinburgh. At a 3, you can see my defenses aren't really... That's one. That's probably another. My defenses weren't adequate. I held the city, but barely. And that just ate up a lot of my points at once. Now, you could say, well, why don't you just let the Scots, take Scotland? And they will. They're not going to go beyond Scotland. However, once they reach here, every time they take an action, it reinforces the North Army, and it takes an action instead. So once they're full strength, unable to do anything here, they start activating the North Army, which can defeat me. So it doesn't really help to leave an army alone that's not too important. The Covenanters' victory also promoted Presbyterianism as a form of church government. So Scotland is going to go down. Most of these are going to be against you. It's like, well, why is the Covenanters' victory promoting Presbyterianism going to help here? A lot of times I feel like the cards kind of don't help me. They don't do what they claim that they're about. And then John Pym creates the Parliamentary Committee of Safety. The purpose to secure funds first for the king and later for Parliament. That's going to give me a bonus in Catholicism. Now that doesn't help the king's Catholicism. That's helping my relationship with Catholicism, which is to say Catholicism is less involved in this struggle. There's less zeal on their side, perhaps. All right. Well, that was a pretty brutal blow by the Scots. I would like to do something, maybe pick up this card, but I've got a lot of work to get towards it. Is there something that's kind of falling behind? I could up the Scots. Am I worried about Catholicism? Not terribly. See, I got this free thing here where I'm going to be able to roll, and I get a +1, so I'd only need a 3 or higher right now. So it's kind of advantageous for me to hit that, whereas hitting the Scottish army is particularly not very helpful to me. I would like to continue fortifying if I've got anything. Bristol seems like a good choice. I can't fortify this unless I whack the Scottish army. I'm going to leave that alone and hope it's weaker next time and doesn't move against me and destroy me. So I'm going to spend a zeal over here on Catholicism. And I pump that up. And I'm going to do it again. Now, this puts me at risk in the sense that if the religion... I don't know what it's called again. Religious reaction card comes up. That could drop me back down to a C. So there's kind of reasons not to do that. But if I get this all the way up, I get an extra zeal each turn. That's an extra action. I think we'll just keep going, right? Yeah, that wasn't too good. So I'm not going to make it all the way up there at this point. Is there something else I'd like to do particularly well? Yeah, let's do it again. I mean, if I can get that zeal up there, that's great. No such luck. All my good luck came early on. All right, so these clean up. All right, let's do another card. This is going to go out to 5 again. 3, 4, 5. This is going to be House of Commons passes Resolution Act against Laud. House of Commons acts to overturn religious reforms of Archbishop Laud and replace them with a more Puritan theology. Presbyterians are opposed. They get screwed again by the Scots, and I know this is going to happen. So first they attack me. They only needed 2 this time. That's successful. They flip it. They've taken Edinburgh. They don't get another roll or anything special or another move or anything out of that, just because they didn't use all their rolls. But they do get to besiege or fortify Edinburgh, so they pop it up to a level 2. And it's now stronger when I want to come back for it. Matthew Hopkins, Witchfinder, uses the Civil War to bring about England's worst ever witchcraft persecutions. So I get to look at the next 2 events, review them, and then they go back in the same order. So basically I get a hint into the future here. And I'm going to get one of these, which doesn't really do anything for me except give me some warnings as to what I might need next one. And then the next one, we see a couple of armies moving, some clubmen showing up to fight, and problems with... Okay, this is actually sort of the opposite. This gives me free sieges of Oxford, I think. I think this is the card... Oh no, that has to be for Charles. Yeah, that has to be for Charles. And this card doesn't seem to give me the right to attack Oxford either. So that's a little worrisome. Oxford's not mine anyway, but it's going to become stronger. Alright, so that's this little ability. And then the last one, Pym details First Army plot. That's going to reduce my monarchy rating. And that's getting dangerously low. It goes down here, and I start, revolts start getting more troublesome to me. Well, from my point of view, I'd almost like to make a push for this. What about others? Monarchy. See, I'm not getting anywhere here. Let me peek this card again and see what it does. I know it has like Monarchy A, Parliament A. Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to buy those. I'd really like to get my zeal up though. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend a zeal on this counter. Roll again. And I'm going to get this hell or high water. Should have done it last time. Do again. Okay, maybe I won't make it. 3 plus 1 is 4. That's still not high enough. I'm wasting points here. Okay, that got me up 1. And I'll do it for the final time. I need a good roll here. And I don't get it. And that clears this away. I'm still at 5 because I didn't get that bonus. And we'll be going to another card. Let's keep pushing on with Cruel Necessity here. We knew we were going to get this. I walked away. I've forgotten. But yeah, this is a bonus card for us. Now, right now, Monarchy is something we need for both. We lost Edinburgh too, so not going to get very far on those right now. Alright, this is a battle card, these red things, and we can read about it. After a series of royalist victories, parliamentary forces defeat King Charles's army and save London. Royalist forces withdraw to Oxford and take up winter quarters. Keep this out because I need to be able to see it for the other events that happen. Now, I pick an army, either north or west. That's the first step in this that I want to hit. As of right now, the west is a little ahead. I'd rather hit that if that's the case. Now the next thing that I do is I commit any available named units. I have a named unit. I'm going to throw them in. They're the trained bands. That's all I have. This may not go well for me. Later on, when you get Cromwell and Ironsides and the new model army, you can pretty much kick ass all over the place, but this, not so sure. I haven't faced a situation without at least the Cromwell ones. All right. Now, these chits get placed at random. I'm going to roll some dice for them because I don't know. I don't trust my shuffling. I'm going to roll lots of dice. Once you lose one, it's easier, but because you're down to a 3. I've got these set up in 6 piles, which allows me to kind of do some. Now I shuffle the whole sets after battle anyway, or before battle, or sometime. That gives me some randomization there. Let's create some stacks here. This was from that mess. I got 4 there again, and again I'll just randomize. I could do it all, drawing them all from a bag or something like that. They're a little you know, it's a clunky system, however you're going to do it. The counters are kind of thick and big, and bigger than I like to put in my cup and just shake and draw. So I have to kind of work my way around. And hopefully we won't do this again this way. I'll take a pause and set up the battle. All right. So now what we do is we reveal all the units. And we see this one's got an event. That's going to mean we draw cards from here. Got another event, another event. A lot of kind of weak units, though. I think we're going to get our asses kicked here. All right. So I've got a nasty, the King's Lifeguards. That's going to help them. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 events. And we're going to just draw these in order. Don't worry about these guys in the order I draw them. These guys are going to help me. These are my events. So here's step 4. I can add 2 to any parliamentary musket and pike unit using the Swedish formation. In this one, if I don't like the dice rolls for a battle, I can force a re-roll of both dice rolls for that section. Now let's look at these. Demi-culverins and minions. Resolve immediately. Add 2 to the combat value of the weakest royalist musket and pike unit. So this is... I got lucky here. It's only 1 unit. Sometimes you'll get multiple 2s and they all get this bonus. This is not a good event for me, but it boosts that. High ground. Resolve immediately. Add 1 to the combat value of the weakest royalist musket and pike units. Immediately reshuffle the battle cards to form a new draw pile. Ooh. So I may want to throw these back in. By you, I don't think I can because it's immediate. Okay, so what's the current weakest? Well, there's a whole bunch of 4s now. That's how I read it. So these are all going to go +1 more. Alternatively, it could just be this one. I don't know. If these had come up in the other order, that wouldn't have happened. Now, I'm going to shuffle this deck because these get discarded to the battle events deck after that reshuffle. So I'll take a little pause. Let's take a look at what we're facing here. First of all, we drew the random cards. Now for here we did the events. And I'd be able to do some of these to resolve here. I'm also allowed to spend a zeal to get a bonus. I want to look at what we're going to be rolling though. Here, I've got a 4 to a 3. I got a slight advantage there. That may not be great. The second attack is going to be at even. Okay, but the important stuff is in the infantry. Why? Well, because that's where these have 2 of my units at a time here. So here I've got 6 strength. They've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to be down 4 there. That's a hefty hit. So I'm counting on losing there. I'm also counting on losing here with 10 to 4, down 6. I don't want to spend zeal on a battle I can't win. So we're going to just start this off, and and I probably don't want to spend my cards. It's not like they get reshuffled until, say, that card or I run out or something. All right, so we're looking at a +1 on the blue die, essentially. I get a 4 to a 2. I win that battle by at least 2, so this goes here. If this was a named unit, it would get thrown in here. Here we're talking even. 4 to 1, another victory. That was nice. Maybe I'll get lucky. 6 to 10. That's +4 for the red die. That's going to be pretty tough to beat, but maybe I can draw it. No luck this time. So these guys go into the defeat box, and I'm going to have to roll for his survival to boot. And now over here, this is 4 to 10 +6. That's hopeless. Yeah. All right. So 4 things went in the defeat, only 2 here. Moving these down to the draw isn't going to help me. So, first thing that happens, I can just push those out of the way. Take all these markers off. All these are going to go back, and I have to do some reshuffling in that case. These guys don't matter. This guy, though, I have to roll a die to see what happens to my trained bands. That's a 3. That's going to put them in the recovery box. They won't be available for me next battle, but then they come back after that. Now, the majority of units are here. I have taken a defeat. The army that I picked, that was the West Army, is increased in strength. That means I can't really affect it as easily. I'm also going to lose a zeal point. And monarchy goes down by 1, which is going to improve deviltry and revolt strength. And that's just a bunch of bad shit. Okay, let's handle the rest of this card. North gets an action. They push forward. West gets an action. They push forward. Some clubmen had more deeply than many other parts of the kingdom tasted the miseries of this unnatural, intensive war. I have to see which area they show up in. I roll a 6. That's going to put them in Oxford, which is down here. And they just show up there. Now, the problem with them is I can't do anything in terms of campaigning in the West, in terms of fortifying, anything like that, until I deal with those clubmen. They're not too hard to beat, although they do have, I believe, a +1. See, here's what's hard to cope with. There's revolts and devilry. And these count as revolts. So I think they have the +1 to their strength. Okay. It's very hard. You basically have to memorize this game, because if you want to deal with the rule book, it's just going to give you this tremendous headache with all that color in it. And that is unfortunately just the standard for Victory Point games. They make some really clever games, but the rules are just headache inducing with all that color. All right, let's keep going here. So now Charles makes Oxford his thing. I think this is a bonus for Charles. This is weird. It's not clear what's what. Maybe if you can read past all that color, you can see. But it's really hard to find specifics here. for it. Now, if this was up in the army phase, it would clearly be something happening to you. And I think here it is again, something happening to you. I just can't keep looking through this. It's too painful. I'm pretty sure Charles establishing his kingdom should mean help for him, not for me. So we're going to see 2 fortifies for Oxford. Well, it's at full strength, so that is not a big deal. That's going to be the end of this turn. No, I got my actions. I have my 4 actions. Okay. I'm trying to get to where I can shuffle those damn things, but what the hell do I do about it all? You know, it's all hard. Parliament is down at F. I've got 2 things at F. If I get down to 4 at F, I'm screwed. Getting rid of those clubmen, I don't know how big a deal that is. But I can't fortify Bristol because the army's there. I think these are 1 number, York and Hull. Anyway, I've got that all the way up. Yeah, it looks troublesome here. So I think I want to improve that. It goes up. I think I'm going to go for this. And I kind of feel like I'm making decisions kind of, you know. That does not work. Now here's the problem. I'd really like that extra zeal. Maybe more than I like the clubman. Let's go for the zeal. I don't get it. Let's go again. I don't get it. And, you know, I'm rolling for a 6. Putting that in would have only made sense, I think. I don't know. 2 shots at a 6 is 1.67 plus. You know, I mean, I don't want to do the probabilities in my head, but I think I would have been better off rolling for a 5 or a 6. Because then I'd have a 1/3 chance of getting it. But no matter what, it's a depressingly low number. I really wanted to go for it, but I've got other things, and I'm just wasting my actions by doing it when it turns out. Actions that, hey, I'm so excited because I get an extra action each turn. Yeah, okay. All right, let me shuffle the deck a little bit. In particular, I need to shuffle these things. I think I'm going to load this one up. Because we're not going to make it through a deck in one video by any